Welcome back into the Cowboys Report for the second time today. I am your host, Tom Downey. A little bit later than normal when we get the video out, but the NFL trade deadline was going on. I got lots of responsibilities here at Chat Sports, but I promise you, when news happens, we break it down. There is both the lack of news in terms of trades and the cut of Trysten Hill. Now, there was no live for the Cowboys Report on Monday or on Tuesday today. Because the Cowboys are on bye, we will be live on Thursday. So a programming change here for you this week. Make sure you guys are subscribed, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Make sure you guys are subbed and don't miss out on any video here at the Cowboys Report, whether it's the red button or if you're on the new version of YouTube, the black and white button. Either way, hit that sub button right now. The big move of the day, the Cowboys made a roster move, but it's not a trade. Trysten Hill has been cut by the Dallas Cowboys as the Cowboys begin to shuffle their roster with some potential additions and returns of Odell Beckham, etc. coming down the pipeline. Hill's time on the active roster, at least for Dallas, is over. Because he has been cut on trade deadline day, Trysten Hill is subject to waivers. After the trade deadline, all players go through waivers, so Hill must clear waivers. If a team claims him, Dallas saves a couple $1 million. If he gets through waivers, I would assume he ends up on the practice squad, but Hill was a healthy scratch last week for the Dallas Cowboys as he made a couple splash plays in TFLs, but he just wasn't that good. I'm sorry. Osa Odigizua was wildly outplaying Trysten Hill. Quinton Bohanna and Jonathan Hankins are better true nose guard one techniques than the three technique penetrating pass rusher that Trysten Hill plays. I think Neville Gallimore is a better player. Plus, he's under contract next year, unlike Trysten Hill. They had promoted Carlos Watkins. He's just as good, if not better, than Trysten Hill. So in the end, Hill's time on the active roster is over. Much like Bradley and I almost a year ago to the day, you could see a release of Hill and somebody claims him off of waivers, which would save the Cowboys some money. No comp pick involved there, but you weren't going to get a comp pick for Trysten Hill anyway, if we're being honest with ourselves there. What is your one-word reaction to Trysten Hill being cut by the Dallas Cowboys? This will be the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, cool, great timing. Head down there. One word only to Hill getting cut by Dallas. You know, possible one words bust stands out because, let's be honest, this is a bad draft pick. We can wind back the clock to that draft selection when guys like Juan Thornhill were on the board, other safeties that we all wanted. That Cowboys draft class, specifically outside of Tony Pollard, does not look very good. McGovern, Pollard, and I think that was the Donovan Wilson year. Top of my head, I can't remember. It did not work out very well. Hill was not a high-end impact player for you. You had 6 defensive linemen already on the active roster. It did not make sense to keep all 6, and you're clearly picking, I think, in the end, Odell Beckham over Hill, which is a different conversation, I suppose. The Cowboys want more edges because they crave those pass rushers. It's what Dan Quinn wants, what the Cowboys front office wants there. Trysten Hill was a bad draft pick. If he's on the practice squad, great. You can always promote him later on in the year, give him the active game day call-up. I'm not losing sleep over the release of Trysten Hill. We talked about this for over a year, a potential Hill release. It was a matter of when, not if, he was not a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the thing that has people hot and bothered today is the Cowboys not making a trade deadline deal. They had been, and we'll break this down in depth, I know, and we mentioned this on previous videos, they'd been in the mix for Bradley Chubb. They were in the mix for Chase Claypool and Brandin Cooks for differing reasons. In the end, the Cowboys did not make a trade for any of those players. We'll break down why and potentially signing Odell Beckham now in a moment. But first, today's show is brought to you by the newest sponsor here at the Cowboys Report, Established Titles. If you don't know what they are, that's okay. We will break it down for you here. Established Titles is a fun, unique, creative way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. It's a project based on the old Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or in the more common modern-day English vernacular, ladies and lords. You buy a title, you get a square foot of land with a unique plot number on a private estate out in Scotland. You get a certificate, by the way. I'll show you mine here in a little bit, both the photo of it and the actual certificate itself. They plant a tree with every order. They work with global charities, One Tree Planted, Trees for the Future, help support those global reforestation efforts. If you're trying to have some more success on, I don't know, maybe your dating profile or trying to get bumped up to first class on your plane ticket, you can put Lord or Lady on there. 10% off with their already ongoing sale when you head over to establishedtitles.com/chat and use promo code chat. Here's my established title right there. It's now Lord Tom Downey. Oh, I should have made that the name badge today. Thank you, Sam. I asked my wife to call me Lord. She wasn't as bored on that one, but it's now Lady Olivia instead of just Baby Olivia. 10% off. It's the perfect last-minute holiday gift, since if you're like me, you don't shop in advance because you're bad at that. Promo code chat at establishedtitles.com/chat will save you 10% off. If you're in the first 200, your plot of land is right by the little Chat Sports Kingdom we're building over there. All right, the trades that did not happen. The Cowboys were in the mix on Bradley Chubb. I have heard that from multiple different sources. We talked about it on today's show earlier. They were in the mix. But it was a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a player in exchange for a future fifth in Bradley Chubb. That's a lot to pay for an edge who, quite honestly, probably would have been a rental for the Dallas Cowboys. Many of you wanted a receiver, understandably so. I know I did as well. The Bears set the market with the trade of Chase Claypool. They get Chase Claypool under contract for a year and a half. The Bears didn't like the free agent class. I get that. The Steelers get the Bears' own second-round pick. That could be a top 40 pick this year. At minimum, it will almost assuredly be higher than what the Steelers or what the Cowboys would have had as their own second-round pick. So if you wanted to chase Claypool, it would have been a second and more for the Cowboys. That's just what it would have cost, I should say. All that's true for guys like Brandin Cooks, Jeudy, who I think are better than Chase Claypool, differing contract standpoints, but they've been more productive in recent years, right? Those deals were expensive. I know the Cowboys were heavily involved in trade conversations this year, even more so than most years, because we never had the leak of, the Cowboys are in the mix to drive up the asking price. They actually were in the mix this year. So knowing the actual trade requirements to get all those players, are you mad the Cowboys didn't make a trade? Safe space to express your frustrations. Why for yes and for no? Let me know in the comment section. The big non-deadline moves the Cowboys were tied to. Brandin Cooks is the popular one right now, right? We talked about Cooks a lot here on the channel. The Texans were never going to give him away. There was an $18 million fully guaranteed base salary next year that was a problem for the Dallas Cowboys as well. I think for other teams too. It would have been a second-round pick and more for Cooks. I don't know if I want to give that away. That's a lot. The exact same is true, by the way, for Jerry Jeudy. Denver wanted a second and more for their young wide receiver because I think he's better than Chase Claypool. But Jeudy would have been expensive for Dallas. That's just the reality. I'm going to push that across there for me, Sam. Jeudy would have been just as expensive, if not more so, than Cooks and Claypool. Do you want to move your 2 and probably a day 3 pick, if not more, to get one of those guys? I don't. That's a lot. Now, at the same time, I didn't want to move the 1 for Amari Cooper. That worked out pretty well before the bad Amari Cooper trade, but that's just the situation from that standpoint. The Jets had wide receivers on the trade block, right? Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore. The Jets have not had a good working relationship with the Cowboys. That was hopeful things changed. Nothing did. They had offers for Elijah Moore. They kept him in the end. The Jets were always a long shot. And I don't want to see DJ Moore complaining in the comment section. I have tried to tell you guys for a month now, DJ Moore was never getting traded. He was never getting moved for anything less than a 1 and a 2. Who here is moving a 1 and a 2 for DJ Moore? I'm not. I didn't want to. That's a lot to give up for an awesome receiver, make no mistake, who's cheap this year, a bit more expensive next year. But the Panthers were not giving him away. Guys, it takes 2 teams to tango. It always does. I understand the frustration. Maybe we'd have felt better if they'd done a trade deadline deal for Jonathan Hankins. I wanted a receiver. Doesn't mean the Cowboys are done looking at wide receiver talent. More on that in a second. But Cooks costed a lot. Jeudy cost a lot. the Jets were a tricky trade partner, and the Panthers were not selling and giving players away. Because of that, I'm actually not that mad. I'm a bit disappointed, sure, but I know they tried this year. And given previous history, it makes me feel better. I will not complain about Amari Cooper. That time has passed, unfortunately. Before we go, Odell Beckham is the next apple of my eye. That's a phrase, right? Apple of the eye, right? Diamond, gem, whatever it is. No receiver trades. Now, Odell Beckham is not going to be healthy until late November, December. Keep that in mind. But this would be a classic Jerry Jones move. The money he wants has to come down for this to happen. He wants way too much money right now. There could be a hypothetical bidding war between the Packers and the Ravens and the Rams and the Giants and the Cowboys. And we'll talk about this, I'm sure, on Thursday's live show and throughout the next couple of weeks. Do not rule out Odell Beckham to the Dallas Cowboys. That particular rumor, more so than ever before, absolutely has legs. So one last request. If you made it to the end, thank you all so much. If you want to sign Odell Beckham, type me in the comment section.